This is part of a test that I was doing for a particular client where they were going to need a row of rooms, particularly in a more linear type format, something that would be dynamically built. So I focused on using Dungeon Builder, which is actually Dungeon Architect, which actually proved to be a really useful tool. With it, I was able to just simply put in prefabs and then start messing with the rule system to apply it. So at the prefabs, we end up with different things like, let me drag this up here. This is the prefab that lets me build this. So in it, we say, okay, what does the ground look like? And I can apply ground. I can also add new things in here, like, for instance, doors. What do doors look like? But I already have a door. Stair 2x. I've got stair 2x as well. Anyway, so you set them the basic types of what objects they need. You go ahead and set up what types of rules and information there's going to be. Anyway, and then there are additional configurations like how you can constrain it. You can influence how things get laid out. You can have it put new types of things. So for instance, I can create an entirely new type of object. And as you can see in the inspector over here, I can set up what's the template object for it, how does it get set up, what kind of rules I can add or behavior scripts to affect that, different types of constraints, all sorts of different things. Anyway, but what it ended up creating for me was this test scene. So I have this character that effectively can start at the beginning and travel all the way across. Additionally, we were going to need to see the character. We needed to have a very obvious end room, a couple hallways in between, but otherwise just the level broken up into several dynamic rooms that can be built up as the player moves across. Okay, now this was one of the configurations. One of the things I can do is go over to the inspector. Let's see, not for this one, I need the hierarchy. I'm just going to select the grid. So over here I have the sci-fi graph, or the sci-fi grid that I was working on. That's actually this dungeon architecture item right here. Anyway, so I can destroy the current dungeon, which I go back into scene, and there's nothing there. Then I can go back into inspector and tell it to build a dungeon. And in this case, we go back to scene, and it's the same level. The reason for that is because the seed is actually provided the same every single time. So the seed, I could change this from 6 to 7, or 76, that's fine. We'll destroy the dungeon and rebuild it again. Go back to scene, and now we end up with a different level. So we have over here one large room, another room over here, and then finally another, well, actually 2 more rooms at the end. So it's able to dynamically create these rooms for us. And this hallway is a bit long, so I might want to work on tweaking that. But in general, you can see that this is able to build this stuff for us pretty easily. Now, one thing in addition to that I built for this, let me go back and change this to seed number 6, because I had a unit that was testing something in this. Let's go build the dungeon and go back to scene. So here's my original test scene again. And then as I move over here, inside of this, there is supposedly a test unit somewhere. Oh, I'm at the other end, aren't I? Yeah, I am. I was at the end. Sorry. So here I am at the beginning. I've got this test unit. They don't do anything. They don't have any colliders. They just slide through walls at the moment. Their objective was that as they move, we should be seeing them. Remove this. We should be able to see them through the walls. So I ended up writing a script and applying it to these different things to see what was actually blocking it, a ray trace, and basically just taking anything out that kind of gets in our way. Alright, so when I play this, let me move the actual game up here into the view. I will play, and then the character automatically moves. Now in addition to this, you can see things are getting out of its way, but over on the side coming up is going to be an enemy hiding behind a wall. And we can see that enemy too. That can be part of a setting or a configuration in the game for difficulty. So you can see that there's an enemy hiding, and that makes things incredibly easy for you. Less surprises. You still of course, have to be able to defeat them. But that's effectively what happens. All right. So that's a general idea of what I was building with this, and I may end up expanding on it and starting to build more. All right.